Thank you for tuning in to All Things Real Estate. Once again, here are your hosts, Brad Avergon and Gary Kelley.
And here we are on the 10th of July, which they don't like it when we use that, but that's what it is. At the height of the summer, actually probably just dribbling off the 4th of July. And Brad and I are sitting here chatting about how slow things are. And I had made the comment recently that there is no slow time anymore, that it's, kind of level. And what I was thinking was, it used to be that there were giant peaks and valleys. And if you look at the chart that I am now sharing, because we are talented here, if you look at this chart, you can see that pre-COVID, there were some pretty substantial peaks and valleys that took place. And post-COVID, you still have peaks and valleys, but the amplitude, that's your dollar word today, Brad, the amplitude is far less than it used to be. And this is right here is when we all went through the COVID thing. But my point, and I think I overstated my point when you and I were talking, was that it's really kind of become steady state year round for real estate. And I personally blame interest rates and finance people and people like Brad Avergon that are causing this.
Yeah, I took this under, I take complete blame for the flattening of the market there. One of the interesting things, Gary, in addition to I don't know if you can pull that slide up again, but one of the interesting things, when we talk about the peaks and valleys, Gary, are you able to pull that slide up again?
You didn't say please.
I did not say please. Pretty please with sugar on it. All right. One of the interesting things is not only do you see the peaks and valleys that have kind of flattened out, but look at the difference in the volume. So, you had much more huge swings in volume up and huge swings down. But if you look at the number of homes that are for sale, while it is increasing, in 2024, and it's a steeper increase than 2023. So same time last year, we have more homes, right? Based on this curve, we have more homes for sale. So the curves are starting to come back a little bit, but because inventory is so constrained, there's just not enough of it. You don't see the peaks and the valleys are not amplified like they would be in a normal market. So I think, we are starting to see a little bit more, but certainly I don't think we're going to get back to that, at least not in the near future, that seasonality of it where I remember saying, okay, let's go for the spring market and batter up now. Let's go for the fall market. I remember the spring market. And you can take the slide down now if you want.
No, I like it. It's better than you.
This is true. I remember, we would just go full amp out and then close before the end of August because everybody wanted to be in before school started, And so and then that first week in September, you'd hear crickets. It would be like,
right.
Realtors and mortgage people alike would be like, okay, I'm exhausted from the summer. And then the market would pick up again, probably second or third week in September. And then we'd go to like the week before Thanksgiving. And then oftentimes when Thanksgiving hit, holiday season, it would dry up. Now it's just flatter.
And, I do contend that it's interest rates. Now, interest rates are driven by a lot of different things, but what I see happening is people went in and they refinanced their loans during COVID, or they did a cash out refi. A lot of people are sitting on equity at this point, okay, and they don't want to lose it. And so they sit and they say, what can I sell my house for? And let's say that they can sell their house for $700,000. And let's say that they want to downsize. They downsize to a condo at $650,000. They stare at us and they say, why would I want to do that? The difference between a condo price and a house price for a comparably sized product, the difference has really shrunk down. And then with condos, you have, when I lived in a condo, I liked it because things like roofs and walkways and mowing the grass, that was all taken care of. You are at the mercy of the condo board saying, we're going to do a special assessment this year. The decks on the back of the houses need to be replaced. And you can participate in the meetings, but you really don't have a full say. You have a proportional vote on stuff like that.
Absolutely, Gary. And you brought up really two important key points there. And the first one is the net equity when you sell. So if you sell your house for 750 and you buy a condo for 650, you're exchanging you're doing all this for $100,000 differential, which is not enough, I think, for most people to kind of move the needle when it comes to retirement. So when they're downsizing, like $100,000, how long is that going to last me if I were to draw upon it? Not to belittle $100,000, it's a lot of money, but it's not enough from a retirement planning standpoint. Really, not enough to move the needle. The other thing that changes though is the cost of funds. So let's say on your home that you're selling for 750, you have a $300,000 mortgage at 3%. Well, now if you have to get that $300,000 mortgage again and you have to pay at 7%, you've doubled your cost and you've added a condo fee. So people have to kind of weigh and measure that when they're looking at it, and they say, gosh, it's going to end up costing me more money on a monthly basis to move into the condo than it is for selling my 750 house. And that means I'm going to have to start to tap that extra 100 that I thought I was netting. I'm going to have to tap that for living expenses. It's just, there's a lot of math that goes into this now. And it's surprising, I think, sometimes when people look at it, they think, well, I'm going to downsize. I'm going to a smaller property. It's obviously going to save me money. But when you really look at the numbers, sometimes it doesn't save you money. Sometimes it can cost you even more.
Right. What we are dealing with now, and obviously not in all cases, but we're dealing with now are the heirs of people that have passed selling the homes. Had one that was yesterday, nice little two-family, a sweet little two-family in Shrewsbury. The poor man had passed away. We've done a number of sales for this family over time. And they called and they said, I think they called on the way from the hospital. Would you help us sell the house? Well, yes, of course we'll help you sell the house. And it's been a great partnership because we've worked together before. They know what we do. We know what they do. And we're able to have a conversation. I kept saying to him, the poor guy that had passed away, his car was in the driveway. And every time I went there, I said, what are we doing about the car? And it was the car had damage. It looks like, the right side of the car had lost a battle with a Ballard somewhere. And, they owed more than they could get on the open market for the car. And so it sat. And when it came time for the final walkthrough, well, we got to get the car out of here. And they had said that they would drive it away, but they couldn't get the car started. So yesterday morning, we got a tow truck there pulling the car out of there. And I share that story because it's the kind of thing that happens to people. It's not their car. They're not driving it. It's just sitting in the driveway. It's not bothering anyone. But now it's time for the car to have to move. And so that's where it gets to be interesting. But we're seeing a lot of that because when people pass away, unless there's a relative that's going to move into the house, the house becomes available. And I've heard many times, oh, my neighbor's going to buy the house. Okay, well, that's fine. And I don't doubt that was a conversation that happened over the fence at some point. But when it comes time to, let's put some dollars against this. What's this really going to cost them? How are we going to really do this? That's where oftentimes these things fall apart.
You bring up a great point, which is, in theory, it makes a lot of sense. Oh, I love the neighborhood. I'll buy this for my kids, or I'll buy it as a rent, whatever. This is a great, great home. When it comes down to the dollars and cents, which is where I come into the picture and start helping people look at actual numbers, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's more expensive than they thought, partly because of interest rates, partly because when they look at the reality of, okay, if I'm going to buy this property, I've got it. Let's say we'll just use the same scenario, 750, and I want to put 20% down. That's $150,000 I'm going to pull from my asset group, okay, and put it down. And then on top of that, I'm going to carry a $600,000 mortgage. Plus, I'm going to pay taxes. Plus, I'm going to pay insurance. So there's a lot that comes into play. And when you really sit down and look at dollars and cents, you really have to give some careful thought. And so buying that neighborhood property, that somebody lived in that you liked it's great in theory when you look at the numbers, and you have to look at the numbers really, because that's the reality of it. It sometimes makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. The other part of the market that I'm seeing, Gary, is the folks that bought that first time home buyer home, maybe had 2 bedrooms, maybe they were lucky enough for it to have 3, but they're busting at the seams, and they're not sure what to do, because they love that interest rate that they have right now that they got when they bought that, but now they've got a couple of kids, maybe a dog, and they're just busting out. There's no room. So they're looking at the cost of going up versus moving.
So Brad, let's talk about how someone might finance that in the second half.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. And by the way, Brad, who are you? We haven't done introductions yet.
Who am I? It's the existential question, right? Who am I, Gary? Who are you? I'm Brad Avergon with Fairway Independent Mortgage. And Gary?
I'm Gary Kelley with Castanetti Realty Group. Let's pause now, and we will come back in the second half and talk about, if you want to do something, how do you finance it?
Great.
Once again, thank you for watching All Things Real Estate. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brad or Gary.